What's up guys, we're back with the last video in the series with a $200 price range 15. So I'm going to go through the details, sound characteristics, specs, and who the overall winner is at the end. Stay tuned. What's up guys, well we're finally back here and this is the final video on the around $200 price range 15-inch subwoofer shootout. I did individual videos on all of these subs if you want to take a look more in depth. But in this video, we're basically going to go over the differences, specifications, sound characteristics, and to basically help you guys make a decision on which you like best. I will say, all of these actually sounded really good. I was impressed how all of them sounded, but again, with all subwoofers, they each have their own different sound characteristics. So we'll go over the goods and the bads and come up with an overall winner in the end. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and talk about now the differences on these subwoofers. Let's start out in no particular order with the Amrerican Bass. This is a very smooth sounding subwoofer. It hits the lows very nicely. It's not super accurate. It's not sloppy, but it's not the most accurate in my opinion, but the bass is really deep, really smooth, moves a lot of air, sounds very good, very warm, blends well with the music, plays all the frequencies well, nothing's missing, nothing's lacking, so it sounds really good. And let me show you a clip of this one playing. Do some sweeps, starting out at 15 hertz. Hertz. So as you can see, pretty impressive sub, moved a ton of air, pumped pretty hard. I know you can't tell from the video on the sound quality, but very good sounding subwoofer. So now let's move on to the next one in no particular order, the Hifonics BRW 15D4. I really like this sub. It hit the lows very well, it hit all the frequencies very good, there were no gaps, very smooth but yet punchy, and the transient response and accuracy was very good on this 15. Really surprised me. So this one really sounded great. I had no complaints. Everything was perfect. I really had no complaints on this subwoofer. It sounded really good. So I want to show you a clip of this one playing right now. Some sweeps starting at 20 hertz. Alright, so again, as you can see, that thing was pumping really hard. You know, on that 2500 uncertified, 2900 dynamic amp, got really loud, sounded great. Like I said, no complaints on this. Really nice 15. So let's move on to the next one, which This one, they had these available when I did this video, or when I was doing the videos, but I don't know if they're in stock right now. But you know, the Audio Legion thing's been supposedly going away for like 2 years now, so if they aren't available, I apologize, but they were at the time I did this video. But this is the Maximus 15. This is a super accurate 15. I mean, it was basically as accurate, and I'm not kidding, no BS. This is accurate as a 10, you know, or a 12 any day. Hit the lows very well. I know some guys are concerned about, you know, these hitting the lows. Hit the lows very well, super accurate. Hit, you know, all the stuff down, you know, from the lows, you know, up into the 70s, 80s. So nice response, nothing lacking. Super razor sharp accuracy, very slappy, punchy sound, super clean. Really enjoy this sub. I think a lot of you guys that like that clean sound would love this subwoofer. And this sub, the Maximus, is similar to the Scar EVL, but it's not the same. I didn't do one in this video because it already took, you know, it was a lot of time doing these four. But from my experience, the EVL doesn't quite sound as punchy, but it doesn't quite hit the lows as much, but it's very similar. So if this isn't available, keep the Scar EVL in mind. But let me go ahead and show you a clip of this thing playing, and you can check it out. Alright, let's do some sweeps. We're going to start at 20 hertz. Okay, again, hard to tell from the video, but amazingly accurate, tight. This thing has insane transient response. Moved a ton of air, was, you know, pretty efficient, didn't take a lot to get going. Maybe wasn't quite as loud, barely, I'm talking about barely. It was still very loud, so don't get me wrong, maybe than the other subs, but super clean, super accurate, super slappy, punchy. Can't believe this is a 15. Sounds as accurate as more 10s. You know, it's more accurate than a lot of 10s I've heard, which I'm not kidding. And I've tried a lot of subwoofers over the last 5 years, so I know from experience. But great if you like punchy, slap, and accuracy, but still good sound quality. Okay, so let's move on next to the Soundstream T5. Now these have been around for a long time. A lot of the Soundstream guys love these things. Guys use them in competitions and stuff all the time for budget builds. This thing sounded really good. It was surprisingly accurate. The transient response is very good on this. The only thing I noticed on this one is it kind of falls off above 50 hertz, so it's a little peaky. It's got kind of a narrow bandwidth, so it does hit the lows very good, you know, from like 25 hertz up to about, you know, 45, 50, but it starts to fall off. And in the modeling software, the boxes I use, that shouldn't be happening, so I feel like that's a sound characteristic of this subwoofer. I mean, you might be able to manipulate the box size and stuff to help that out, but honestly, those boxes were pretty dialed in, even though they're prefab boxes. 4 cubic feet, 35 hertz, very good port area for like an SQL setup. So I don't think it was the box at all. Plus, none of the other subs did that. So I think this is just a little peaky, but it still sounds very good. It's just in certain songs you'll notice above that 50 hertz, it's almost like someone turned the volume down a little bit. And to me, it was a little annoying because the 40 and 30 would pump real hard, and then all of a sudden like a 50 or 60 would hit, and it would sound like you turn the bass knob down. So it, you know, it doesn't have like, it kind of has a peak and it falls off after 50, but the transient response was good, hit the lows good, moved a ton of air, still sounded really good with rock and everything else. Like I said, I just noticed that as far as the falling off around 50 hertz. But let me show you a video of this thing pumping. Let's do some sweep, some test tones. Actually, I'm going to do some test tones first. Just 20 hertz. Alright, so as you can see, this thing was slamming pretty hard too. So now let's get down to the nitty-gritty. The specs on all these are really similar. Some of these manufacturers don't give you all the specifications, so I wasn't able to give you all of them. They're all very similar. The weight is similar. The X-Max is similar. The motor structures are pretty similar, all being around 200 ounce. X-Max being, you know, somewhere around 22 to 25. So all similar specs wise. I'll go ahead and put up the power ratings now. So these are the peak and RMS power ratings. And also I want to put up the max SPL we got out of them. Same setup, same amp, same boxes. So I'm going to throw that up now. So, as you can see, the Maximus was the least loud, but still very loud, guys. I'm just being ultra critical here. Then the next, I think, was the Soundstream and the Maximus, and the Hifonics actually won in that category. It was the loudest on that power. So, the Hifonics won on that one. Now, the next one I wanted to do was transient response and accuracy. Some guys care about this. If you have a good ear and it matters, then it's a big deal. If it's not that big of a deal, then it's okay, because I feel all these subs were really good as far as transient response. None of them were dogs or totally sloppy or just really annoyed the heck out of me listening to them. But the clear winner on that one was the Audio Legion Maximus. Super accurate, insane accuracy, razor sharp, crisp, clean, you know, just articulate on every double bass note. Even on electronic music where they have sine waves, you can still hear sloppiness when the sine waves flexing. So sometimes you guys think, oh, I don't listen to rock or metal, I don't really care about transient response. You can still hear it on electronic and rap music, trust me. So the Legion was the total winner on that one. The next best was the Hifonics, surprisingly. This thing had a nice smooth sound. It wasn't as slappy and as dry as the Maximus, but it was super accurate. The transient response was very good, just had a nice smooth sound. Hit the lows really well, did everything really well. The next one was the T5. Very good accuracy. I think that came third in line. Just lacked a little bit, you know, above 50 hertz. And then last place on that one was the Amrerican Bass. It's not bad at all, but it wasn't the greatest of these four on accuracy. On quick bass notes and stuff, they got a little bit, you know, indistinctive, a little bit muddied together. So the transient response was a little bit lacking on that one. But again, all of them sounded pretty good. Just these three, the Hifonics, the Legion, and the T5, you know, had the better accuracy and transient response. Alright, now hitting the low frequencies. This box was tuned really good for hitting the lows, 4 cubic feet, you know, 34, 35 hertz. Verified it with the DATs and a calibrated microphone, so the box was tuned pretty low. I'm going to throw that up on the screen now. You'll see the results. But not bad at all. The Legion didn't do bad, but they just weren't, the lower notes, like 30 hertz and under, weren't as loud. They didn't cut through as much, but it did play it, as you can see in the video. If you want to go back and watch the review, these things hit 20 hertz. It's just they were a little bit quieter. In next place was the Soundstream T5. They hit the lows very well, nice and deep, moved a ton of air, sounded really good, and it's really close. But I think a tie for first, and I'll put the chart up on the screen, but is the Hifonics and the Amrerican Bass. These just hit the lows really well with a lot of authority, so that they didn't drop off as much, like under 40 hertz, 30 hertz. The volume stayed really good, you know, 20, 25 hertz. So I think the Amrerican Bass and the Hifonics were the winners there on the playing 30 hertz or under frequencies. Now let's talk about the straight up wow factor. And the wow factor I just call, like, when you sit in the truck, stuff's rattling, you feel it in your chest. Some subwoofers are loud SPL wise, but you don't feel it in your chest. And there's a lot to do with that. It's like cone weight, excursion, you know, if we're talking about same amplifier, everything. But the wow factor, which one of these felt the craziest when you sat in the truck? And I'm going to put that up on the screen right now, the results. I mean, they all did pretty good, but keep in mind, guys, I'm just being very particular, telling you guys the differences. But by far on these, the Hifonics and the Amrerican Bass won in that category. Moved a ton of air, super hard hitting, you can feel it in your chest. And then I'd say the T5 was in third place. Wasn't quite as much, but still there. Wow factor pretty good, can really feel it, really feel the air movement. And last place, but don't get me wrong on that, because this sub, you can actually feel it in your chest hard. It's just different. It doesn't like move maybe as much air, but you still feel it in your chest and it rattles stuff, but it just was a little less of a wow factor as far as rattling stuff and moving, you know, air movement in the vehicle. But I mean, I don't really think this is a big deal. I just, you know, some guys really just care about, you know, kind of the wow factor, moving air, that type of stuff, you know, getting windy. So in that case, you know, the Maximus was last, but to me that's not a big deal, but I'm just giving you guys all the info. So that's the rundown on them. And again, all these sounded really good. I would actually roll with any of these and be happy. I probably would be less happy with this because the drop off at 50 hertz, to me, I notice it, but I'm picky. I know a lot of guys, they don't care. As long as it hits 30, 40 hertz, 20 hertz, they're good. Alright, last one, overall sound quality. Now, I'm just going by the technical standpoint. Like, again, some of you guys like different things. Everybody has a different ear, but I do have a very good ear and can hear a lot of different things, which is actually kind of annoying, more of a curse than it is a blessing sometimes. So I'm just going strictly on sound quality, which means the notes it hits, the accuracy it has, you know, how well it blends the music, all that stuff. So I'm going to throw that up right now. But the clear winner on this one, to me, was the Hifonics. It did everything. It hit the lows, it was punchy, it had transient response, hit all the frequencies well, nothing was lacking, just sounded amazing. I love this subwoofer. I had literally zero complaints whatsoever on this subwoofer, which is is pretty good to have zero complaints. This Maximus, it tied, but it's different. If you like that razor sharp accuracy and more of a dry slap, like a really slappy sounding subwoofer. Now I consider punch like a smooth punchiness where you can still hear kick drums hit, but when I say slap, that's almost, some people might say, a little like razor sharp and harsh. It's like cracking a whip. And I like that sound. It's just some people prefer a smoother sound. So this thing sounded really good. It hit the lows very well. Accuracy was amazing. Very good sound quality. I mean, a little bit of a drier sound than the Hifonics, but as far as accuracy and sound quality, they're both great. So that's kind of a draw. It just kind of depends on what you prefer. The Soundstream, I would say, I think got last place only because I can really hear that above 50 hertz drop off. And like I said, I modeled it in TurnPro, Bassbox, and some other software, and technically it really shouldn't have done that, so I think that's just a characteristic. Some subs are kind of peaky, they work in a narrower range. I think that's what this is, but it still sounds great. A lot of guys don't care if it hits above 50 hertz anyway, and it still hits above, it just quiets down, so it's not like it's not there. So I think that one probably in last place, and kind of right in the middle was the Amrerican Bass XR. Even though this thing sounds really good, hits the lows, it had the least amount of accuracy. And again, on a technical standpoint, I'm just going to the nitty-gritty. That's why this didn't come in first or second. Really smooth, hits the lows. My only complaint with it was the transient response. Some of the busy notes got a little lost, got a little sloppy, little indistinctive, you know, the razor sharp, but still a great subwoofer. Hit all the notes, so I hope this helped you guys, and I hope that I covered all the bases to help you guys make a decision. Power handling wise, they all did very well. I would say that 2500 watt amp that was uncertified that I used during the test, all these handled it no problem. I think the Soundstream, that was probably all it needed. I don't think it could really do any more with any more power. So maybe a little bit, but not a lot. The Maximus, it could take a little more. I think like if you had like 3,000 uncertified, it'd be no problem. And then these other two too, I think these things actually could use a little bit more. Not a ton, but they were taking that 2,500 uncertified no problem, and I could tell like they could use a little bit more. But all great subs, like I said. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think. It was kind of a real fun video, and this is also what I do, guys. When I do reviews, I mean, I've probably tested 80 subwoofers in the last 2 years. I pull them in and out of boxes, put them in different boxes, try them back to back. So I mean, I really get an idea of what sounds good. I don't try something 2 years ago and base an opinion off it now. So all these I did back to back, you know, back to back, same box. Even some days I pulled them out, listened to them for an hour, pulled them out, switched them out, so they were fresh in my mind. So it was kind of a fun test, a lot of work, but so I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And until next time.